What I'm sharing with you are some ideas for how to get the most out of yourself, your personnel, your time. Recognizing that, especially in small schools or new programs, or if you're a new coach, is it working now, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're on.
That you need some ideas on how to make this work because it can seem really overwhelming. Now I know that some of you people are not exactly new coaches. So I expect support. Okay. So I'm going to just start out with some general bywords. And I think these are vitally important to almost any kind of extra or co-curricular that we work with as educators. Because whether you are a teacher or not, you are educating your students in forensics. And that is to be passionate, be organized, and yet to be reasonable. The first two are for your students. The last one is for you. Because what we do not need in the forensics world is burnt out people who can't keep going. We just say, this took my life, and I'm an empty shell now, and I'm not going to continue doing this. Okay? So be passionate. Be a booster for this, first of all. Believe in it. And communicate that with people. It's vitally important. If you apologize for being a forensics coach, people are not going to have place a very high value upon it. Yeah, I coach speech. It's sort of weird. Okay. Be organized. Not just in planning, but also in knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, playing to them. I don't really think there's a good place in this activity for egomaniacs, because they tend not to be very good people. Lastly, be reasonable. Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, if you're starting a new program, if you're a new coach, you have to recognize that you're starting from a standing start. Okay? And nobody expects you to place 4 kids in each event at the state finals your first year. Right? The role you'll play to the student is going to be important. And probably your relationship with your students is more important than your level of success, even I would say, planning for the future. So let's try to be practical about this. How do I allot my time? First of all, as I was saying, and this is going to come up a couple of times different ways, recognize the limits of time and space. You cannot create time. Many people have tried. Usually under the influence of alcohol or other mind-altering drugs. Okay. You can only coach for so many hours a week. We have lives, right? We have professions. We're teachers. We're business people. We're in sales. We do different kinds of things. And we cannot possibly coach as often as it might seem our students need. What I always tell my students is, you should be practicing, especially if you're an interp, you should be practicing 4 times for every time you practice with me. You need to take responsibility for your piece. This is not something you're going to be able to establish on your own. Okay. So, recognizing limitations, particularly for those of you with new programs or new coaches, trying to coach 14 speech events is a recipe for disaster. You can't do it. Sorry. I'm just going to make that a blanket statement. You cannot do that. If you insist on that, then you should be prepared for your students to have a frustrating experience. You are far better off saying, we are going to concentrate on X number of events this year, 3 or 4 events. Say, we're going to do prose, we're going to do extemp, and just for funsies, we're going to do impromptu. Okay. Maybe the year after that, we can expand into some other things. You may have to pretend that some events don't exist for a little while. Okay. Now, by the same token, that doesn't mean that you tell your kids, okay, go to the final rounds of only these events. Let them explore. But you're just not going to be able to coach them all, especially your first year. Okay. So how do you get the most out of your time? As I said, limit the number of events you coach. Second, is require that students commit. Don't just say, hey, I'll be there after school, y'all come, all right? Be there after school and have a sign-up sheet on your door so the kids can commit. And yeah, paper does matter. I know that we live in an electronic age, but students still put a lot of faith, a lot of value into paper. If they write their name down on something, it matters to them. We went from a printed newspaper at my school to an online newspaper. Guess what? Nobody reads newspaper now. Okay? If it's on paper, it still matters. No more than 2 slots per week per student, because you are going to have, little Jamie Jones who wants to take up all of your time. And you'll have to say, look, Jamie, as I said, go home and practice. One of the things I tell my interpreters in particular is practice to the mirror. What do you see in the mirror? Do you see the character that you want to portray? But that's another issue entirely. Secondly, involve veterans in peer coaching.
Can I ask a question?
Sure,
on the 2 slots?
fire away.
If you have a student who's doubling, do you typically give them 4 slots, or do you still say 2 because you're one person?
I would still say 2. Just because, I want to leave slots available for other people too. If after a certain time, nobody shows up, they can come in. So if I've got 4 slots after school and only 2 kids sign up, that kid could hang around and see if anybody else shows up. So, okay. Veterans. I put the word veterans in quotation marks for a very good reason. A veteran is any kid who's been to one speech meet. Okay? In a small or a new program, that's a veteran. Okay, you qualify. Right? And here's the weird thing. Those kids oftentimes will step up because they feel like they understand a lot more. Now, through my career, I have had students who, and I guess maybe this isn't just me. A student gets started in prose. Oh, I know how to read expressively. I can do this. And you coach them, you say, you're doing it right. Give me some feeling here. How many of you have had a student come out of the first round of competition in tears? Because they finally recognize, oh, this is what it's all about. Okay? So it truly is walking through the flames in a way. It truly is, you become a veteran. Okay? Recognize you're going to need to get help. You will need help. You are a sole proprietor. That doesn't mean you're the sole individual who is responsible. You have ownership broadly of the program, but recognize, again, your limits, okay? So who do you find? You find theater people, you find social studies people for debate, you find local business people, attorneys, retired judges, social studies teachers, substitute teachers, recently graduated students, okay? Anybody who is willing to work with students and who can do it. Right? That last part is important. They have to be able to do it. You sure? There's an excellent debate coach who's unemployed right now in Elkhart County. And he's unemployed for a very good reason. He cannot get along with teenagers. He absolutely cannot get along with teenagers. He's opinionated, he's brilliant, he's thoughtful, he's thorough, he's all of these things, but he cannot get along with teenagers. This event does not begin with the peace, it begins with the kill. So you got to at least tolerate them, okay? Particularly debate coaches. You may have to train them if they don't have past forensics experience. Not all who are willing are trained. Are you willing to be trained then? I think that's a significant question here. Okay. And as a side note, and this is partly because I believe in values that are conveyed in education as well. Make sure that you instill in your students a sense of thankfulness for every adult who helps them, of gratitude. Thank you for coming in and bringing us donuts on Saturday morning. Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for coming along to judge. Thank you, bus driver, for driving us to this tournament. Okay? And I am not beyond using guilt. You remember, Todd Efsitz, that somebody came out and judged you in high school. So you'd be willing, in a few years, to come back and judge yourself. Now, people who are in established programs know this already. Your alumni are some of your best supporters of your program. Okay. I have students who I have coached. If I probably counted them up over the last 15 years, I've probably had 30 kids who have come back and judged. And some of them have been away to come back, and some of them have never left. But they are significant supporters. Okay. Organizing practices. Nothing works better than a sign on the door, as I said. A little bit of a repeat. Here's another idea. Designate some slots as event-specific. Event-specific. Tuesdays are for public address. Tuesdays are for extemp. Wednesdays are for duo. Noon time is going to work really well for some interps because you don't have to do prep in advance, right? My students enjoyed having what they called impromptu slams. Even if they didn't compete in impromptu, they just thought it was hilarious, okay? Some of them did go on to work in it, but we talked about organizing yourself, and we have 10, 15 kids, and this is a little Westview. We have 10 or 15 kids show up for 2 hours just to do impromptu. I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Okay. How does that help your program? They gotta like being with each other. You know, they gotta want to have fun. They gotta see this as enjoyable. Okay, so even if they don't compete in that particular event, let them do it. Be creative. Evening practices, Saturday practices, practices after athletic practices. Your students have more energy than you do. Okay? If they have musical rehearsal from 3:30 to 5:30, they're going to be hungry. But if you give them some food, you know, throw some pretzels and Starburst at them, and they'll be fine for another couple of hours. Okay? That's horrible. Nutrition-wise, that's horrible. I should not have said that. Todd?
You can also make money by having some food in a refrigerator and soda in a back room or something, and they pay for it. Thank you, Kevin O.
To at least subsidize it.
Yes.
A little bit. Okay. You want a pop, it's going to cost you a quarter. Okay, something like that. Again, not recognized and not recommended, but it can be done. That last bullet point is really important for establishing a relationship with your students. And let me explain to you why that is. Because your commitment inspires their commitment. Your commitment inspires their commitment. If they know that Mr. Yeakey is going to be there waiting for them at 4:30 because they couldn't get there earlier because they had an appointment, and that Mr. Yeakey has small children at home that he would rather be spending some time with, you're going to be there. You're going to be there. And if you're not, Mr. Yeakey is going to guilt, shame, embarrass you. All right, what about money? Boy, as many coaches as are in this room, I'm sure you've come up with some very creative ways to deal with this. Money is a problem. The good thing about money is how little our activity actually costs. I mean, when you compare it to the cost of outfitting football players, I mean, some of us could fund our entire program for the cost of suiting up one football player, especially with insurance and doing helmets every year and everything. But be clear about why you're doing it. Okay. Yeah, it's to make money, but it is also a team bonding experience. Don't think that you're going to have a car wash and make $5,000 in 3 hours. It's not going to happen. Okay. You'll be surprised sometimes, but be realistic too. Be realistic. But we got to do fundraising. Almost all of us have to do some kind of fundraising, and I'm not entirely against it. The reason being that this is another level of commitment. Are you committed to this team? I have made fundraising a prerequisite for earning a varsity letter in speech and debate. Okay. Have you contributed to the team apart from competition? Have you, sold stuff from a catalog? We've done that before. Have you come to concession stand events? Have you tried? Have you done these have you been a team member? By the way, side note, make sure that your school knows you're a team and not a club.
Yeah.
Make sure that they know that you compete, that you prepare, that you're competitive, and that you're not just a bunch of kids who sit around and talk about nerdy things all together all the time. Okay? Again, draw to the attention of your administration, look, compare how much we cost and what our impact is on our students' education, and I say this as a former football player, to the cost of football, or basketball, or anything else. They'll see that it's much different. Strong way. So some things that have worked, this first bullet point no longer works because they don't do it anymore. I just finally got an email back after a week. It used to be current catalog, like current kitschy stuff from Colorado. There are other catalogs out there that will allow you to do fundraising. Amazon, Smile. If you're not familiar with this, Amazon has a program called Smile. And you can sign your organization up with Amazon, and as long as people buy through the Smile portal at Amazon, you receive some of the proceeds. It's pretty small, but I mean, who of us has not gotten on Amazon and bought more than we intended to buy to get free shipping or something like that? Okay, so Amazon Smile is something I'm familiar with. Yeakey Candle has a fundraising program. Car washes, again, are sort of fun, and they're also fun for off-season stuff as opposed to doing them in December. For team building, okay? Because it's a level of commitment. Again, you cared enough about the team to come out in July and help out with a car wash. Right? How good is that? You must be committed to this.
I should point out that if you were at Nationals, you probably met the guys from the old-fashioned sucker company. They sell them. And they have one that is a smart one that's school approved, so you know your lunch ladies can't get mad at you for selling it because it meets all the requirements.
Flavored like
And they front you the suckers, so you don't have to pay for them up front. You pay for them after you sell them.
Who's that again?
It's I don't have the name on me right now. I haven't. But they're the people, you know, if you go to the gas station, you see those big round old-fashioned suckers. Mm-hmm. It's that company that does the same thing. So I think it's called old-fashioned suckers. I'm not sure what it is. But they had Nationals there giveaway, and they actually taste pretty good. So you know, they don't have as many
old-fashioned lollipops.
Old-fashioned lollipops.
There you go, old-fashioned lollipops. Thank you. It's nice to have the interwebs available to us. Okay. Next to last slide. For those of you who are keeping track. Suiting up. And this is a problem. This is a problem particularly for small schools or schools with low-income kids. So here are some ideas for you. There's no reason, no effective practical reason for your kids to come into a tournament looking like they don't belong. Because the fact of the matter is clothes are dirt cheap in America if you're not too proud to wear used clothes. Okay. So here's some ideas. Team trip to Goodwill or Salvation Army. One of the best memories my team at Westview had was the year a kid left her competition clothes at home before we went down to Indy for the state finals. We had to find Goodwill and pitch in to buy clothes for her. It was a blast. Okay, they had to eat at Fazoli's instead of a nice restaurant, but you know, they still had a great time. And that was just a one-shot deal. Graduating seniors could will their competition clothes to the school because some competition clothes are a little bit like bridesmaids' dresses. You know, some girls may not see themselves as wearing those for the next 4 years of college. Some of them will still fit into those clothes. They're nice interview clothes, they call them. But a lot of kids will not. The last one I've done several times when I was at Westview. Email faculty, ask them to donate clothes they've outgrown because, you know, we keep growing after we become adults. Notice I said we. Okay. Raise your hand if you're still trying to fit into the size 34s, guys. That's so fun. And that's really helpful for your faculty to feel a part of this as well. You know, even if they can't come out, they have other commitments, they don't want to come out and help you judge, they don't want to help coach, they got other stuff going on. they can still be a part of this and be supportive. Because an amazing number of faculty, I believe, would want to do that. But, you know, they say things like, well, can we come and watch? Well, not exactly. You can't exactly come. Or can we have a pep rally? No, we don't do pep rallies. Well, how can I contribute? Here's a way for you to contribute. Okay. This is really important. This is my last slide, and then we can open up to questions. And again, there's so much gathered wisdom in this room. Some of you are just in here because you don't like Dave McKenzie. And so I want to be able to share gathered wisdom that's in here too. Should kick on the wall. Hey, McKenzie. You have to be a shameless self-promoter of this activity. You have to get the word out. Because there are a lot of people who think that this activity is dead. True story. There are many people who believe, oh, speech, you know, that went out with about, what, 1942 or something in there. So you have to be a shameless promoter of the activity. Not of yourself, but of your kids' achievements. You should get out of the picture. Yes, ma'am.
I would say that, you know, talk to your school paper. Last year at our tournament, I had a girl, she's in my class, so she got extra credit for helping with the ballots, community points for that. But she was on the newspaper, and she live tweeted during the tournament and the award ceremony, so that people could, you know, from our school could actually see that. So that was kind of cool.
Jeff Stutzman at Concord does the same thing at tournaments, so he'll live tweet stuff.
I don't tweet, so it doesn't.
And so, you know, many of our students do. Many of their parents would like to know how things are doing, but you get tired of texting them all day long. So that could be another consideration. We have a team Twitter account that we use for extemp research, which is another factor, I guess, to follow different news organizations to keep our files up to date.
That's not bad.
Follow BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNN, everybody. And then the night before, I mean, you'd be amazed at what you can download and print out before a tournament. If you print, we'll just put it in your electronic files. Make sure the school administration, the building, and the board know of your student successes. Invite yourself to a board meeting. I'd like to show you what my students are doing. I'd like to show you our state qualifier, or qualifiers. Okay, this is what they have done. Isn't this awesome? Okay. Yeah, Tom?
Most school board meetings have a moment at the beginning for that kind of purpose.
Yeah,
and so they'll fill it with something. Fill it with speech and debate.
If you've never gone to a school board meeting, it's a good time to do it. And in terms of getting the word out, also raise awareness within the student body by doing what many sports do, and that is having those the locker decorations. I know some schools do not allow these, or don't allow them to be, taped to the lockers. You can buy little adhesive magnets at Michael's or Hobby Lobby and get parents to attach them to laminated signs. Last year ours was "Nothing suits me like a suit." And it was a little outline of a suit. Everybody knows that expression. And it said Bethany Forensics 2014-15. And that becomes, again, raises awareness and it becomes an important part of showing team. Okay, I sort of ran through that because we got started late and I know that we're behind right now. But I just want to open this up to questions. Some of you are new coaches, some of you may have new programs. And also there are other people in here who could help us out. Yes, ma'am?
I have a question about the role of team captains. I have team captains, but and last year was my first year. I never really knew exactly how to utilize them. So just what are some really practical things?
One way that I have used team captains in the past is to be the people who are encouraging new members, no matter their grade level, to stay on top of their event. Okay? Haven't seen you practice in a while. Have you signed up for the next tournament? Okay, have you looked at your critiques with coach yet? All right? So that's one way that I have used them. I've also used them as a de facto social committee. You know, let them plan a monthly outside of school activity. You know, go bowling. Everybody goes to the soccer game together. Everybody does something together as a team. Those are two ways that I have used them. Others have ideas about captains? Todd?
We have a team captain, and then we have an interp and an oratory captain, and we'll soon have a debate captain. The team captain is the one that leads warm-ups and all that stuff at events or at practices, so I don't have to worry about it. And then they'll also act as coaches, peer coaches for the novice. And then that's where the interp captain and the oratory captain, they focus on different areas. And I look at them as like mini assistant coaches.
The other way that I have used, and again, I'm in a, not quite a unique situation, but an unusual one, because we have a middle school in our building as well. I also use my captains and veterans to do middle school coaching, to help out the middle school coaches. You know, mastery is really important. And if you can teach somebody how to do what you do, that's a level of mastery. So that's one other way I used it. Yes.
We had 2 great co-captains, which was saying a lot because they were sophomores. Our team kind of dwindled to sophomores. But they did a great job of keeping everything up to date, keeping the team connected. They ran the Facebook page and the Twitter connection, and you know the kids were always tweeting, and that's how they ended up. Hey, you guys need to be here. You know, where are you? And they were the ones who, you know, did the early morning call. Hey, you're late. Where are you? You know, so we're meeting.
More questions?
I keep going back and forth. Our school has uniforms, and I was wondering, what are your thoughts on that? I worry about like my girls and their skirts, particularly. You know.
You mean at tournaments?
Yeah, for their dress wear. Would it be better just to have them go in more just professional wear, or
Absolutely.
is it rather than their uniforms?
Because otherwise, everybody's going to know they're from Andrean.
I know. I was worried about that too.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I have always encouraged my students to make sure that they deposit their school identifiable outerwear in the cafeteria.
Okay, so that way no one can be biased against.
Because, you know, we don't want somebody, you know, oh, there's another Culver kid in the camel haircut, you know.
Yeah.
Hi, Mitch, how you doing, man? They're envious of those coats, though. I gotta
What?
say. They are envious of those coats.
Yeah, keeps them warm.
They look pretty cool. Yes.
I say that when I deal with my kids, first of all, I suggest the girls, if you're doing an HI or memorized do, you're moving a lot, wear pants. Okay, you don't want to be doing a skirt if you're squatting. Okay, you just don't want to do that. And I also tell them if you know, I look at them and if I see it's like that is too, you have to pull it down while you walk. It's too short and it's too tight. So change, you know.
Well,
And I've been known to bring an extra skirt and say, here, put this on, we got a belt, you know.
Yeah.
The other thing I need to say about that, now that I got myself all the way into my program, is that you got to be careful with stupid technology. You got to be careful with an outfit looking like it's a costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they might be, like if they do a religious piece, maybe that might be interpreted as, oh, they're dressing up.
Or if they're wearing skirts that are too short and they're doing something about.
Skinky.
Yeah.
Say it. Might get the wrong
So that is my email address. Do email me. I do have a packet ready to send out, but I didn't know that you were going to be here. So email me and I will be happy to send you however much you want. Some of them might be useful. Yes?
One other thing, for the newer coaches, one way we contact our members is by remind.
I've heard it remind. I haven't used it myself.
And you know, when you're sitting on the bus at 4:30 in the morning and you're missing that one kid, you just send out a remind and it goes out to everybody. And so 15 people on the bus, their phones go beep, 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 but
Okay.
the other person doesn't find out.
If you use an educational management software like Blackboard or Haiku, my school uses Haiku, create a class for your team, and that can also include information. There's another question back here. We're going to finish up pretty soon, folks. Sure. Yeah.
What are some options on uniforms? What are things to wear?
Questions about options on uniforms and what's supposed to go. The byword that always, and I have some guidelines too that I can pass on to you. The byword is professionalism. So, you know,
Well, I mean, there's like.
Gentlemen
I'm
wear
gonna
darker
say,
suits,
because double discrimination,
brighter ties.
they're like, well, I don't like Catholic people.
Yeah.
Some guys get by with wearing sweaters.
You know, or they're like,
But
I just don't like them.
My preference is always for jacket and
They're
tie
entitled
for
to, you know,
men.
so I just don't want
Women should wear dresses that are solid or not loud prints, or jacket and skirt. Jacket and skirt is most normal in Indiana.
So what if you have two girls that are
Well,
like
maybe
in
I'll
a
leave
black
that, like,
and
a
white,
dress code
and
for it,
somebody else that is
you know,
in
their
a brown?
skirts will still
or
be
with
the
blue.
proper-
Yeah, a duo would have to
But I
coordinate.
just,
It has
I went
to
back.
I have my own
and forth.
feelings about people who are identical, but that's
Should they? Because
my
I
own.
have team union in a way,
They don't
and
have
nice
to
clothes, but
match
I don't
or
know.
They don't have to match.
They pretty much all do.
Yeah.
They just have to.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did promote my team, and it might be something you guys might think about, I mean, you know how Noodles used to do the thing where you could fundraise, and I know like Fazoli's does it and things like that. But what I did when I talked to the Noodles manager at our store, and I said, could we perform? And she said yes. So I had a couple of my kids perform when the store was busy. And the comments we got were amazing, because, you know, our kids were out there and they were actually performing. And we even did an impromptu, and we did one that was, you know, an interp. And we got done, I mean, there was I don't know how many people came up to me and said, this is awesome. Make sure you keep doing it. And the manager told us we were the highest fundraiser that Noodles ever had, because you know, the people were so impressed.
That's great. That's a good idea. Other comments, questions, complaints, concerns? Other alliterative devices?